You want some?
I saw the
Easy.
native grasses, I saw
They
the.
can do like this stuff up there. Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right. I call the meeting of the McHenry Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Thank you for coming. This is for petition, I should have it, Z7250074. The PIN number is 07-36-326-003. The property consists of approximately 88.075 acres, and it's located on the south side of US Highway 14, approximately 350 feet east of the intersection of US Highway 14 and Washington Street in Heartland Township, Illinois. The applicant is Woodstock Community Energy Initiative LLC, and this is for a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial solar energy facility. Okay, so we'll start with the board introductions, and then I'll explain how this hearing will work, okay? All right, we'll start on my left.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Jess Beverly, Door Township.
Vicki Gartner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Bill Kernick, Grafton Township.
Thank you. We're all from different townships, so we're giving you a very broad view of our opinion here. Okay, we will do our legals in a minute, and then after that, I'm going to swear everybody in, including even if you think you don't want to speak, I'm still going to swear you in just in case you change your mind later. And then we'll have the petitioners will explain what they want to do and where and how and why, and then we'll have questions for them. And then the staff may have questions. After that, if there's anybody in the audience that has questions for the petitioners, they'll have a chance to do that at that point. And when we get to that point, I'll explain how that will work. Okay, then we'll have our staff report, and we'll have questions to the staff from the board, and then we will have public comments, which is the audience's turn again to give their opinion, not ask questions at that point, but just give your opinion on if you think this is a good thing or a bad thing or why. Okay, then we'll have a closing statement, and because we are a short board today, we're short one person, you will have the chance to continue this hearing till you have a full board, full 7 members. So we'll get to that, when we get to that point, I'll explain that part. Okay, after that, we'll vote, maybe, maybe not, we'll see. And then that will be that. So let's start with the legals, which I tend to forget. Okay. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated August 27th, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and dated, and date posted was August 29th, 2025, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was August 29th, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. Survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and the publication in the newspaper, and all 3 match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation has been received. The McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received, which is number NRI 25-063-4724. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm going to swear everybody in. So please raise your right hands. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony today?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a petition with this application. Will you waive the reading of that petition? Petitioners? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start with you. If you could all please introduce yourselves and your position, and then you can begin telling us your story, what you're going to do and what you want to do.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Colin Walker. I'm Development Manager with ECA Solar.
My name is Daniel Blaylock. I'm with the engineering firm Kinley Horn, which is the engineering consult for ECA Solar on this project.
I'm Hobie Anderson. I'm Associate Civil Engineer with ECA Solar.
I'm Enigma, Director of Civil Engineering for ECA Solar.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Ben Dykema,
Ben, okay.
And what's the company's name?
ECA Solar. Yep, the acronym.
All right, great. Okay, so who wants to start telling us?
Yeah, I'll start. So we prepared this PowerPoint presentation, which I'll walk through. I'm sure you've seen a number of them, so I will keep it as brief as possible so that we can get to the meat, which is probably the questions and discussion.
That would be nice, because our packet had 1,000 pages in it.
Yes, yes.
Almost 1,000.
Remind them, we're all going to know who you are, because every time you talk, Vicky's going to look at you like,
Yeah.
tell me your name, because
We are
that's our
recording,
record.
And so
And
somebody
we have to
listening
keep
to the
track of it, because
recording,
we can't see it.
somebody listening to the recording will have to know who's speaking. So just before you speak, just say your name.
Sure.
Okay.
Colin Walker. I'm beginning a PowerPoint presentation. So first, let me introduce you to ECA Solar. So we were founded in 2014. We are 100% employee owned, and we have a number of projects going in Illinois, as well as some other states that have community solar enacted in legislation. Some key facts are provided for you, so we have the experience and the know-how for doing these projects, is basically what I'm saying. Now we can talk about the solar project. As you are aware, this parcel is zoned A1. It's within McHenry County, which allows solar energy facilities as an approved conditional use. Couple quick highlights here, not located in a FEMA flood hazard zone. There are existing wetlands, but we do not plan to impact them. And then we will be using screening both in existence and plantings. Some highlights again of the project specifically. So this is a 7.5 megawatt DC project, 5 megawatt AC, which is the maximum size allowed in Illinois underneath that metering program. We are located off of US Highway 14. The AHJ, as we discussed, is McHenry County. That's why we're here. Total project area is about 31 acres, whole parcel being 88. There's some more facts there for you, not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about here. One thing I do want to spend some time on is what ECA Solar takes great pride in, and that's being upfront, forthcoming, and doing our due diligence with our neighbors. So we have completed some community outreach way ahead of this hearing so that we could make necessary adjustments if and when we receive them. So to begin, we sat down with the city of Woodstock in April 2025 just to kind of introduce ourselves, talk about this project, how can we work together. We have some more conversations going on, but we did not receive too many comments from them about their concerns other than screen the frontage on US Highway 14. In July of 2025, we sent letters to the neighbors surrounding this project, inviting them to come to a neighborhood meeting, which was held within stage left at the Opera House to learn more about this project, ask questions, and kind of have those one-on-one conversations that this type of setting doesn't necessarily always provide the ability to have. And so we had some great questions, great comments, and we left there with no real objections that I'm aware of. So I feel pretty good about how this project is set up and the concerns of the neighbors. The other item I'd like to specifically talk about is the economic and community benefits. Two things that really want to highlight here. On the economic side, this project is going to bring in about $916,000 in tax revenue over 35 years. It's going to contribute directly to the local Illinois economy, estimating about $13 million, and half of that will be on labor costs, and we plan to use local labor as well. For the community portion, we're estimating about 1,100 ComEd customers will be able to subscribe and save on their electric bill. One thing that I always like to hit home on is that solar projects have no additional strain on public services. We don't use the schools, we're not really using the police, we don't use water. So we're basically a net positive all the way with our tax revenue that we're providing to the county. And then last thing here is that this project itself is going to be upgrading the electrical infrastructure around it. So we're actually going to be building 6,300 feet of three-phase, which doesn't exist, from the end of the three-phase all the way to our site, which then can be used by other customers and other residents of McHenry County or Woodstock, the city of Woodstock. And that's 100% paid for by the project. Again, you've seen a lot of this, so I'll just highlight the two things that I think are important and maybe different. Number one is we like to use this knot wire fencing. I think it blends more with the surrounding environment. It's wooden post. It allows for creatures to go in and out and not create a breeding ground. Every 50 to 100 feet, we're going to be snipping the cross section to actually make it a larger opening so that the fox can get in and there's no breeding ground for the rabbits, mice, chipmunks, what have you. The last thing I'll leave you with is this green mesh fencing. One of the complaints or comments, I should say, that we receive about solar is that it's not great to look at. And while I can understand that point of view, this green mesh fencing is really here as a way to shield that view while with the landscape that we have planted matures. So it's not a permanent solution, but it is there for about 3-ish years while the landscape takes hold and grows. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Ben.
Ben Dykema. So just a real quick overview of stormwater. I'm sure you guys have heard similar on other solar projects here, but you know, the existing condition of the site is being used for agricultural purposes, you know, soybeans and corn. You know, we intend to plant a pollinator-friendly vegetation, you know, a meadow-like condition on the site. Deep-rooted, you know, very dense vegetation, which basically helps infiltration and will ultimately reduce runoff. You know, during construction, you know, we'll be using low-impact type design elements to make sure that we don't compact the site, and then we'll be using a cover crop usually immediately following construction to get vegetation immediately while the pollinator takes hold. Very specific to this site, you know, so general flow of the site is from west to east. You'll see there is kind of off to the east there a blue hatched area that's a wetland, likely non-jurisdictional but still determined to be a wetland. That's where a lot of the drainage from the site goes to. We're not proposing any development there. You know, that's the existing drainage. Our site, we have very minimal grading. We won't be changing any of the hydrologic patterns. So where the flow is going now, it will continue to go. And then we do plan to apply for our stormwater management permit. We understand McHenry County has you know, stormwater requirements. We've taken a look through those. And I can tell you that, you know, we are looking at over 20,000 square feet of impervious area. You know, and so we will be looking at, you know, putting together the proper, you know, package to submit, and we'll be working with that department. And this is just to quickly show too, these are not our site here, but just examples of a drain tile investigation that we've done on other sites. We actually have this work scheduled, I believe, for next week. So we will be doing a drain tile investigation so that we know what drain tile is out there, and then you know, if there is drain tile and if it's in conflict with the site, what we typically do is we'll put together a reroute plan to make sure that that drain tile, you know, is moved in a way that we won't impact it. You know, and certainly any impacts that we do happen to have with drain tile will follow, you know, the agricultural mitigation requirements, and as well as any McHenry County requirements. And with that, I'll turn it over to Danny.
Hi, Daniel Blaylock speaking with Kinley Horn, serving as the engineering consult for ECI Solar. So as far as access goes to the project, access will be provided off a 20-foot wide gravel driveway off US Highway 14. As Colin was mentioning earlier, the electricity from the project will connect into the ComEd infrastructure that's currently in place along US 14. This interconnection is going to require 7 utility poles on site that are spaced around 30 feet apart. Once the access road is into the solar array area, it will route internally through the site to connect to 2 equipment pads that will convert the electricity into the grid. As far as the estimated construction schedule, projects of this size typically take around 6 months to construct. This chart kind of like details more of kind of like the things going on during that time frame. Something I'll highlight is kind of like the construction traffic comes up a few times as concerns. During peak construction, I think the most heavy vehicles will be maybe 4 vehicles per day. As far as traffic, once the project is already constructed and in operation, you would only expect to see like, folks going out maybe once or twice a year. The traffic is like very minimal compared to other developments. As part of the CUP application, Kimley Horn prepared glare and sound studies to analyze the impact on nearby areas. There's more methodology included in that CUP application. To summarize, the glare study, especially with the vegetation screening that we've mentioned, there's no glare impacts that are anticipated, and based on like a sound study that we performed based on like Illinois Pollution Control Board regulations, these are not to be of concern as well. And so usually solar projects of this type, at the end of their useful lifespan, which is around the 40-year mark, at that point the projects will be decommissioned. What that entails is that the panels are removed, the racking posts and fence are also removed. Any sort of electrical equipment is taken out and recycled, and the site is restored back to the farmland that it was before. As part of this, ECA Solar is prepared to report a bond with the county based on the county's evaluation methodology. The intent of that is, let's say 5 years from now, ECA Solar is not part of the picture. This bond with the county allows the county to, mobilize these decommissioning efforts in the absence of a developer. And that's all we have prepared. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. One of the terms that was used, I'm not sure who brought it up, was 3-phase. Can you please explain what that is?
Yes, so Colin Walker, 3-phase is a type of wire that runs along the street on the telephone poles, utility poles. There's 2 different types. There's the 3-phase and single phase. On US Highway 14 at a certain point, if you looked, there will just be 1 wire running at the very top. That's single phase. 3-phase is simply 3 wires running at the top, which can take electricity back or out and take the electricity from the solar array back into where it's being used.
And this is why you need to put up 7 extra poles to get the 3-phase to the solar site?
So we're actually upgrading 6,300-ish feet of single phase to 3-phase,
Right.
so that when you are exporting that power, it can be used.
Okay, so the poles are going to be along 14, not necessarily on the site, but up to it.
So the answer to your question is both. So along 14, there are currently poles. We're gonna be putting cross arms at the top so that you can have the 3-phase wire. But then also on the site, there will be, I think, 6 or 7 poles installed, and that's due to requirements from the utility ComEd for safety equipment and metering equipment.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Ben.
No, you're Ben, yeah.
Got it. You beat me to it.
Okay. You mentioned that a drain tile investigation was gonna be done.
That's correct.
Is that the same as a drain tile survey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a different term, okay. Now, there's a center tree line on this site. Is that going to be removed?
Yes. So we are planning on, that like fingerling of trees. We do plan to cut those down. And then there's also going to be some tree removal along the east edge for shading reasons. I think it's about 30 feet or so along that edge.
Okay, and do you know what kind of trees you're taking down?
So we have not done a tree survey. I do understand though that, you know, that's a requirement that's been brought up on past solar projects, here, so, you know, we're happy to do that. You know, we could certainly provide that, you know, before any mobilization, tree cutting, and certainly before.
We like our trees.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, now this is a community solar project. Can you explain for the people in the audience exactly what that entails?
Yeah, sure. So community solar is, Colin Walker. Community solar is basically a way for someone who doesn't have the land, doesn't have the roof space, doesn't want to use their land or use their roof space to participate in solar energy. And by participating in solar energy, you are able to save money on your electric bill. So for example, this project would allow you to save about 10% on your electric bill from whatever ComEd posts as their electric rate. And I think you asked, why are we doing this? Well, one of the big reasons is power prices keep going up. And that's because there's not enough generation going on. And so this is the quickest, easiest way to get generation onto the grid, which can help combat some of that increased power. And so community solar saves you 10% on your power.
Thank you. I didn't ask why, but thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. I think that's all I have for now. I'm gonna ask the board if they have any questions, and we'll start with Jessica.
Oh, sure, thank you. So you're leasing the entire 88.75 acre site?
We are not.
You are not, you are leasing the 30.9 acres identified.
That's correct.
Okay, that's helpful. The current site plan, can we pull it up then? Or can you guys go back to your site plan?
I think it's in the appendix. There you go.
Here we go.
So you've designed this site plan to avoid the wetlands in the southern portion of the property, right?
Yes. So, well, I will point out that the wetlands is to the east. Oh, I'm Ben, sorry. The wetlands that was reported to the east, those other blue hatches are, I believe they're like labeled in McHenry County as historical flood areas, but they weren't determined to be wetlands.
Okay, but
We're
regardless,
avoiding
you're
it either
avoiding-
way, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many acres of trees you'll be removing, or it's just noted on the topography that you'll be taking them out?
Off the top of my head, I do not know. I would estimate it probably close to between 5 and 10 acres, perhaps, at most, maybe a little bit less, but yeah.
And you'd be comfortable doing a tree study before we vote on this so that we can make sure that you're avoiding the trees and the wetlands as part of the site plan?
So we're certainly willing to do a tree survey. You know, if our preference would be if it was made as a condition to approval, we could do that. That just helps us, you know, with the project moving along. You know, just so we're not having to come back, I guess, and represent, but certainly before any building permits are issued and before construction starts.
And the site plan would then subsequently be revised to have less impact on the trees?
Yeah, well, I think that would be depending what the results of the tree survey would be, right? So if we see that there's a lot of noxious trees and if, you know, if we're all comfortable with, you know, with them being removed without mitigation efforts, you know, we could proceed, or if there's mitigation efforts, we'd be comfortable looking into those before proceeding with construction.
Okay, those are all the questions I have.
Mary?
Okay, you talked about the fencing. What it looked like when I was reading it was an 8-foot security fence is what is required, and I see that you are using a couple different kinds of fences. We appreciate the agricultural type of fence. What is a knot fence? Is that what we've always been talking about? Okay, thank you. So that takes care of that one, and we will be including that in one of the conditions. It's in there. Has the city, well, certainly not the city of Woodstock because you've been working with them, has Union no, that's for you, never mind. How many feet is there, because there's a lot of estates on the west side, yes, okay. How many feet is there between the fence and the arrays? I know you've got X number of feet for it, but how many feet is that? I see,
Yeah.
because I didn't see, I see where it is, but I don't know that, what does that look like to me? That looks like some green. It could be 20 feet, it could be 10 feet, it could be, so before you, and then it's before you get to the array. So you've got a fence along one line, that's your red line on the west side because of the houses. Then you've got the green space, and then you've got more space between where that fence is and the arrays start. Do you know how many feet there is to that?
Yeah, this is Daniel Blaylock. It's dimensioned kind of at the southwest corner of the project, but it's 21.3 feet there. Typically, in most solar projects we work on, we try to maintain 20 feet between the panels and the fence for maintenance purposes. If you able to get like an ATV to go through there if there's any sort of cleaning the panels and general upkeep.
Okay. And that fence is on the outside of the vegetation that you're putting in. I know, I'm doing this for them.
Yeah.
You know what I saw? I have a 23-inch screen at home. I'm not wearing my glasses just. Okay, I'm just telling you.
It'll go the panels, then it'll go the 20 feet minimum distance to the fence, and then there's like a little buffer between the fence and like that new vegetation.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And am I correct in saying that you have 23 arrays on each one of those squares, and there are 6 squares of what you're working with? Like how many per section? So you have 23. Yeah, I had to count them twice, but I counted 23. So it's no more than 23 across. And I assume how long it is I don't know. But I'd like to know.
We can, if you, we have some dimensions of the current panels used for the site plan kind of in the middle, kind of like towards like the northern part of the arrays. That dimension's kind of like how wide each solar tracker is, in addition to the spacing between them and the spacing in between each of these like sections of the trackers as well.
I see them up on top, yes.
If you're asking for more clarification on that dimension?
No, I'm for spatial, and it's actually more for them, although they'd be able to see the same thing over on that sheet that you have there if they can't see it there, because reading it is whatever. Okay, and our NRI report says that there is a 34.6% limited soil for solar arrays. And that's part of their report for ground-based solar arrays. Number one, do you know what that means? And, well, it is, what does it mean to you that if it's limited soils for solar arrays? I don't even know what that means. The section, sir, it says specific ground-based solar arrays, and on this parcel, it's 34.6% limited soils for solar arrays. How does that affect you?
Yeah, so Ben Dykema again.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my understanding of what this section is in the NRI report is it has to do with the anchoring system. I did look through this, and it's a lot of information.
Oh, yeah.
But it's my understanding, the NRI, they kind of do an analysis, and it's a general analysis.
Correct.
You know, trying to kind of predict what are good areas for solar anchoring systems. And I believe that that's what this is referring to. What I can say though too is that, you know, prior to construction, we'll be doing a geotechnical survey. So we'll actually have folks go out there and actually do soil borings. And that will give us a really good detailed look of what the soils actually are. And that's the information that will be used when we actually do the structural design and come up with the supports.
Okay, so what happens if you have limited soils for solar arrays and it's going to affect how many arrays you can put out there? Does it? Can it?
Yeah, so again, I think this is really an estimate. It's supposed to kind of give a general view. You know, when we do the geotech investigation, get a more clear example.
And I know, I know we're down the road, but we're
Sure.
kind of on the same thing as, hey, how many trees are you gonna cut down? How many of them are going to be old oak trees? And how will that affect how many arrays you can have? Will it? Or is this just, okay, I just. if you-
Well, sorry, I
Yes?
was agreeing, I was
Okay.
listening to what you were saying.
But you understand what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
these things, it's not gonna happen now, today,
Correct.
necessarily. But there are things that we need to look at beforehand, and one of them is, of course,
So I think maybe, and maybe this will help, just to kind of speak more generally too about soil conditions. You know, if we go into this area and let's say we investigate with the geotech, and we do find out that these soils are bad for the type of foundations that we want to put in, we may use a different type of foundation.
okay.
So more likely than not, we'll, and like you said, this is kind of further down in
You're
design.
flexible.
But we have flexibility with design. You know, whether that's a driven pile or they make, they're called helical piles that have screws on them. Those sometimes are used for poor soil conditions.
Okay.
And there's some others too, but.
I
those are
thank
the
you for
kind
your patience with me. I have no more questions right
Any
now.
questions?
Thank you. Bob?
Oh, thank you. Have you had any dialogue yet with the IDOT concerning access to this, and what is the extent of that?
Yeah, so we have actually reached out to IDOT. We sent in an application for our entrance permit. We did get a response from IDOT that they believe that they have access control over this corridor of US Highway 14. Just speaking completely candidly here, you know, we do have in our title search, we have a plan of dedication, which does give commercial rights to this plat for an entrance. And so that's as far as we've gotten we've kind of responded to IDOT stating, hey, like, we understand we have a dedication here. We haven't been able to find any access rights being purchased, and we're just waiting on their response right now.
Without going further on that, with hold the thought.
Sure.
The symbology on the driveway, on the north end, those are the above ground poles that the Commonwealth has, just to be clear. If you follow the driveway in and then it makes a north to south direction before it enters the screening symbology, those, I take it, are the 7 or 5 poles that are otherwise being required.
Yeah, so the label on the plans is the proposed customer-owned electric pole, where that's pointing to, and then there's also the proposed utility-owned electric pole. And there's 3 arrows there, so I believe that's where you're looking.
Right, but to be more specific, that's not a requirement by the county or requirement by you. Commonwealth Edison is requiring you to put in those above ground poles.
Correct.
That, Colin Walker, that is, ComEd prefers above ground interconnection on the poles. And so we reciprocate that with our own above ground electric poles.
And yet from thereafter, you will go underground to your pad.
That's correct.
And then you also spoke to 6,300 feet. About how does that translate into a mile?
Mile and an eighth.
Yeah.
So it's over a mile.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're installing over a mile worth of poles, switching gear, and other equipment?
So the poles already exist.
Right.
But what the main task is to have ComEd go out there, look at the condition of each one of those poles.
Mm-hmm.
If it's acceptable, leave it. If it needs to be replaced, we will replace it. But then on every one of those poles, it's currently single phase. So we will be putting a cross arm at the top and then the 2 additional wires all the way along.
Trying to avoid making a positive comment, but thank you for the detail. Going further along that issue in terms of access, you have on this site plan temporary access road with a 50 permanent easement. Why is the easement discussion needed on property that you are already leasing? I'm not
I can take that.
Sure.
Sorry, Colin.
Colin Walker again. So there is actually an A&R pipeline that has been installed on this property along the western border here. That 50-foot easement that you're referring to is their easement that is permanent, that we are not going in, avoiding completely. That's A&R Pipeline's easement. And then the temporary access road, I'm pretty certain that that was picked up from A&R's staking when we did our survey in the field. So that temporary access road is actually A&R's. So there is some work to be done with A&R to clean up what we saw in the field with our surveyor. They went out, I think 2 weeks ago or last week to kind of update the survey. And then, yeah, so next iteration, you would see this cleaned up.
Thank you, because I was trying to locate temporary workspace easement number 2, and I was having difficulty.
Also A&R's.
Then a curiosity. There's a symbology that is identified as a section line typical. When I look at the tax ID numbers, I notice that the southernmost portion of this property is within the general section 300. And then north of that is in section 100. And yet the tax ID is all within the 300. Is there any clarification, or? That's an oddity that the parcel would cross a half section line and not have a separate tax ID number. And maybe that's worth exploration.
We certainly can look into it, but Ben?
No, that might be something we'd have to look into with the county assessor to
Yes.
figure out what's going on there.
Notice and everything else, just, you notice that the properties on either side of yours is 36,100, and yet south of that half section line falls into the 300 section, and yet you only have one section, one PIN number identified in your title block. And that's what I was just looking for. But the other element, as you go further south on this illustration, there's not judgmental, but a limited area called proposed vegetative screen. Why was that dropped in at that particular location?
Colin Walker. So if you were to go out there, you would see that in that area, the existing vegetation is not as dense as the surrounding. And so to comply with the ordinance and be a good neighbor, we propose to add those 7 trees just to shield the view.
In terms of the equipment, what is the composition of the types that are going into the equipment pad? How would you describe what goes out on there?
What sits on the equipment
Yes.
pad? A transformer, combiner boxes. Someone want to pick this up for me?
Ben Dykem, I believe it's a transformer, and then I believe on this project, of course, we never bring the electrical engineer, so. But I believe it's string inverters that will also be mounted on those.
And the details of those would not be excessively loud. Those other operational conditions of more concern on the
Correct,
zoning
yeah,
side.
so the transformers emit some noise, but I think Danny presented in the presentation, we did do a noise study based off of that, and found to be well within compliance of the IPCP requirements.
In the 900 pages, I didn't see the type of transformer that was indicated, and so it's. And then in terms of the panels, about approximately how many panels will be installed throughout? Do you have a number? If we're counting them, then 5,000, 10?
Ben, what do you think? I don't know.
It's usually on here. I
See, it wasn't in the site data table.
I know. I think typical of a 5 megawatt project or 7.5 megawatt DC is going to be somewhere between 10, I believe.
I think each, Colin Walker, I'm pretty sure each panel is gonna be 560 watts, and there's 7 million watts out there, so 7.5 million watts out there, so a lot of panels.
Yeah, it's a lot.
On my side of the table, I would say close enough for government work, but I won't say that. In terms, are those bidirectional panels? Meaning,
Colin Walker again, yes, they will rotate with the sun, so as it goes across the sky, it will rotate, yeah.
but will they
Oh,
secure?
yes,
Bioface.
yes.
Yes.
Bifacial.
Bifacial, I believe so, but we typically determine that a little bit further in design, so I don't wanna quote for certain.
That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt?
I have two quick questions. Looking at the drawing, it's very clear where Route 14 is, and you have the right-of-ways marked, and you show ComEd coming existing, it looks like line up to your location. Is that the three-phase cable that you're adding?
So currently, Colin Walker, currently what's being pictured is the single phase, but that line is what will be upgraded to the 3-phase.
All right, so you're not gonna put new cabling to the north at
No.
all? Like, to me, Washington Street seems like a logical connection point because of all the industry that they have in the industrial park.
Yes.
So where are you running to down here? It goes off the map.
We're running Colin Walker, running all the way back to this substation that's in town, Woodstone.
Rough address on that?
Dean
Street,
Street, Dean and something interconnects, I can't remember what the cross street is.
close to Route 14,
Yeah,
I'm assuming?
I'm pretty sure.
All right, gives us a good idea. Lastly, it's not been common for us at all to have green mesh proposed for the fencing, and I'm very curious about that. I've seen some examples of it. What type of product would you be using for this? Would it be like a fabric cloth? Or
Basically
please
what,
explain.
Colin Walker, basically what you would see on a construction site, just it would be of the green type. We can easily provide a cut sheet of what we would be proposing here, and that's great feedback. We should probably just have that to go.
Would it be similar to like a woven plastic or nylon fiber?
Nylon, I think, is more
Mesh.
accurate, yeah.
I've seen it installed in recreational facilities. For example, the former Greyhound racing track in Dubuque, which I knew very well. Their back fence it looked like that type of a product there, and it was very attractive for the people sitting
Yeah.
to watch the
See,
races.
that's basically what we're trying to emulate.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like aluminum sticks or
No.
some such. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Bill?
And the green mesh is just a temporary fencing, as I recall.
Correct, yeah, it's in our Colin Walker, operations and maintenance plan for guarantee for about 3 years. So if wind comes in, rips it out, we pick it up, we replace it. Stick goes through it for some reason, we replace it. But it's not there for the 35 years.
And there is no, at night, there's not going to be any lights or anything on the.
That's correct, no lights.
Correct. And the sound generation equipment is the transformers and the inverters. They are located on the pads, and the pads are on the far east side of the.
Exactly, intentionally placed there as to be farther away from the homes.
And that looks to be around at least about 400 feet or more from the nearest residential home on the west side.
Correct.
And as far as glare, I think you said you don't anticipate glare being an issue or problem in connection with any of those homes on the
Or on 14.
west side. Oh, there was also a question of a well being located on here and people couldn't find it, and whether or not it's gonna be closed,
Yeah,
sealed or what?
We can't find it either. We've had a surveyor go out there a few times. We've asked the landowner. We've, almost every option we have exhausted to see if there is a well out there. There's no physical trace of it.
And I gather from your testimony again, is it Ken? Ben?
Yeah, close.
You don't anticipate that the soil will adversely impact your ability to put in some sound supporting structures for the panels, correct?
Yeah, if that was required, we could put those in.
You'll be able to design the structures to
We could foundationally support
Right.
the structures.
And I believe you said you currently anticipate, well, is it fair to say you anticipate only removing, I think your term was noxious trees or scrub trees?
Yeah, I was, without having a tree survey yet, and not knowing what's out there, it's hard to know what I can't sit here and tell you what we would be removing, but what we're certainly open to, willing to do is to do that survey, to look at the results. If they are noxious trees, great. If not, we would be willing to do some mitigation efforts and do that all prior to construction.
Rather than you coming back with a tree survey and us continuing this hearing, could you give me some language for a condition that you would be able to live with concerning tree removal? Tree removal would be limited to scrub and noxious trees and not include mature trees such as oak or what have you. I mean, what would you be comfortable with?
Sure, yeah. Kind of putting me on the spot here, so this will be fun.
Well, the concern was the type of trees that we're going to be removing.
So what I'll say this too is, we've done projects across Illinois and Lake County specifically they have a strong ordinance. They provide mitigation efforts if we do take down trees that they consider mature woodlands. I believe we plant elsewhere, or they also had a fee in lieu program. I think we'd be willing to do that here. I'm not sure, like I said, if all those trees are mature woodlands, that would be hard for us. It's going to require some level of redesign, right, if we can't touch them at all. So if there's a mitigation road that we could explore, we'd be willing to do that.
Maybe I should yield to Ms. Beverly, and she can address this issue better than me.
What's the mitigation program you referenced? I'm sorry.
With Lake County, they have two different routes that you can go with mitigation. One is that you can replant elsewhere on the property to make up for what you guys what the project could potentially be taken away. And then they also had a fee in lieu program as well, where basically we would put money into a fund that they would use to mitigate elsewhere.
It's my understanding, based on casual conversations with the Conservation District, that a fee in lieu program for a mature oak is over $500,000 to offset the carbon and the maturity of the oak. So I'm fairly confident we don't have that program here.
Sure, okay.
In the past, just very recently, as you indicated, we had a proposal for 5 to 10 acres of tree removal, and they also weren't aware of what trees they were removing. And we elected to continue the hearing pending a tree study and some demonstration of minimizing. I understand that your site plan is designed to maximize the wattage and that you want to keep the paths as far away from the homes with the access road along the woodland there, but I feel very strongly that we've set a precedent that if it's 5 to 10 acres of trees, we want to know what trees they are and how you're mitigating it. So I guess that wasn't really a question, but more of a statement.
Got it, though.
I understand.
Colin, can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So you said 5 to 10 acres. What if we limited it to four and a half acres or below 5 acres? I'm just asking a question.
This is the first time that it's come up where we're seeing that it's non-row crop and they're clear cutting trees. And we heard from all of our environmental nonprofits about the dangers and risks of doing that and approving projects like that. So it would just seem prudent that we have a tree study when it's similarly situated. I don't want to like throw a number at it, especially if you haven't been out there and can't tell me what trees they are, right? Like if it's 3 acres of tree of heaven, yeah, go for it. But if it's
Right.
3 acres of old oaks, like, you know?
Understood.
I have no further questions.
Okay, I have a couple more. Now, you were talking about the A&R pipeline, somebody was. Is that an oil pipeline? Is it a gas pipeline? What kind of pipeline is it?
Colin Walker, I don't know 100%. My thought is that it is a natural gas pipeline. It's coming from Wisconsin. It's going down somewhere.
Okay. Could be oil. Does that pipeline run through your site at all?
It does not.
It does not?
So if you look at our site plan, along the western property boundary,
Mhm.
that is where the pipeline is currently
Outside of
placed.
that?
Outside. And then they have a 50-foot easement that we are not in, and that's where their pipeline runs.
Okay, all right, thanks. Also, okay, you touched on the inverters and the transformers. The plantings that you're planning on doing in between the panels, will those be mowed or will those be eaten down by sheep, or what's the plan for maintenance for those?
Ben Dykema, correct me if I'm wrong, Colin, we're not proposing sheep grazers.
No sheep.
No sheep, okay, thank you. Before I say something wrong. So in that case, typically, when you plant the pollinators, you'll have mowing in years 1 through 3 while the pollinators are being established. That's really more for weed control. As they propagate, as they fill out, that mowing is gonna decrease. And then really you just let the pollinators, the wildflowers, the native grasses, really self-manage in a lot of ways. Now, down the road, there will be inspections. If it is determined that an area is looking bare, weeds are coming up, they may do spot mowing, or they'll reseed a certain area too. So they will, I don't want to say that it will, we'll plant and walk away. It will be inspected. For the most part, there should be low maintenance, but if maintenance is required, like reseeding, that would be performed.
Okay. Another question I have is about your site plan. Somewhere in the 900 and some pages, I read that there was a revised site plan. Now, the one that we have in our packet, I believe is this one, which is dated 7/25/25. Is that the correct one? Has there been a revision since then?
Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the most latest one.
Yeah, Daniel Blaylock, the 725 site plan is the most current that was submitted for the CUP application.
Okay, so we can consider that the site plan.
I can
site.
clarify that too. So there was a revision made, it was provided to us on August 8th, I believe. It's in the conditions. That's the date that we received the updated version.
Okay.
So the date on the actual plan is 7/25, but we received it in our office.
There also was apparently a June site plan that was submitted somewhere. I can't tell you what page that was. I'm telling you, it was like tons of reading. Way over the top, guys, way over the top. But as long as I know we have the right one, the current one, then I'm good with that. There were also some comments made in the natural resources report regarding soil decompacting or soil compacting or something to that effect. Do you have any plans to follow those guidelines, or what is your idea on that?
Yeah, so we would be.
You're Ben.
I'm Ben, thank you. So yes, we do plan to decompact soils. typically during construction, this is when soils can become compacted. Although we will require a contractor to take efforts such as using low pressure equipment, have wide tracks to not compact it. People go out there with pickup trucks, so there will be, or other equipment, so we expect that there probably will be some level of compaction despite best efforts. And so what we typically require our contractors then is to go back out and they'll either disc or use, kind of like these large rakes, I guess pull behind rakes that can decompact soils down to about 6 inches, sometimes up to a foot. But
Is it almost like tills it?
yeah, that's
Okay.
a good word.
Okay. There was one more thing I had. I'll think of it later. Okay, and we will move on to questions by staff.
If I may, just one quick question.
Oh, sure.
What was the size of the A&R pipe, Colin?
I do not know.
Okay,
I do not know.
thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, just a couple for clarification. So on your site plan, you are showing those green shaded areas as existing vegetation that you plan to utilize for the screening in those areas. With the vegetative, or the trees that you're talking about removing from the site, is any of that going to be removed, the green shaded areas on here?
Ben Dykema. No, I believe the green area is where we plan to keep
Keep it intact.
keep it intact.
So the east-west line of trees that, that was referenced earlier that's to be removed, is that the only area then that you're thinking is like 5 acres? It just didn't look like that much to me. I was curious if that it was gonna be that much.
Yeah, so, sorry, the pause here is because I'm trying to look at the plan to see if the screen hatch is matching. It might be a little bit closer to the site. So the areas that we are planning to remove trees, it is that fingerling, and then there will be about, I'll say 20 foot into the tree line along the east side, and a little bit some on the south side as well.
But so on the east and the south, the area that would be removed, you would still be left with enough dense vegetation that you wouldn't have to add additional vegetation there?
Correct.
Okay. And then my only other question was on the green mesh fencing, because that is new for us. Just based off the way it's being described, and it would be nice if we can see like a cut sheet or something, but it sounds like what we would consider a privacy fence, which is fine, we can have that there. But privacy fences are limited to a 6-foot height. So would you be okay with having it just 6 feet up the fence? And I know it might look weird, but okay.
Certainly.
Okay, that was my only question.
Thank you. Okay, I did remember my last question. Now, you mentioned at some point that you hire locally for the construction, is that correct?
We certainly try to, yeah. So Colin Walker, in the past, we have utilized Kelso Burnett, and they're the EPC contractor. And what we have understood from them is that they use Illinois-based labor.
Okay. Now, are you planning on operating the site, or are you just a developer? Do you plan on selling it? What's the plan for this place?
This one, we are just the developer. So we do plan to hand it off to someone who would operate and do the construction.
Okay.
But we're involved and there for any questions or comments along the way. We're not gone by any means.
Okay. So, of course, any conditions that we put on our vote will carry through to new
Absolutely.
owners. That's clear, right?
Yes.
All right.
Mary has a question.
Oh, Mary.
And it just came up. I've heard this term before, and I know what I'm thinking it is. Fingerlings. What do you call, is a fingerling an area of this land, or is it the width of a tree? Are you talking 1 inch? Are you talking 3 inches? Can I go down to the Home Depot and buy something that could be considered a fingerling?
Sure. Ben
Because-
Dykema, I will say fingerling is probably not a technical term, but what I refer to it is what you often see in agricultural environments where there's just like a row of trees. They kind of stick up like a finger.
This.
Yeah.
Okay, Okay, got it. Just
It's not
like,
technical, so it's a fair question.
so, but like, well, the fingerlings that I remember from my old house are called box elders and they're junk.
Yeah, I'm referring to an area of trees, not a specific tree.
Okay.
But
Thank you. I
Fair
just
question.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
I was understanding what you were actually saying.
I'll come up with a better term for sure.
No, that's okay. It's just,
Okay, I just wanted to
Question?
mention at this point that you have obviously met the standards for the state and you've met the standards for our UDO for this development, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, you affirm that?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, it's time for the public to ask questions if they have any. If you have a question, please come forward and state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes approximately to ask and have your questions answered. So you might want to ask your questions all at once so that they have, time to answer without them being rushed. During this time, if somebody has already asked a question that you had wanted to ask, then don't ask it again. Just take the answer as it was. So does anybody have any questions for these petitioners? Thank you. Nobody does. Okay, great. We will move on to our staff report from Kim.
Okay, so the subject property is zoned A1 Agriculture District. Across the street, across Route 14, there is some B3 business zoning as well as industrial. To the south is A1 Agriculture, to the east is A1 Agriculture, and then to the west there is an E1 estate subdivision as well as additional agricultural zoning. The current land use of the property is agricultural. Across the street, that B3 zoned property is currently vacant, it's undeveloped. And then there's an industrial use as well across the street. Agricultural and residential uses to the east and west, and then single-family residential to the south as well. The future land use map does designate the property for residential. So at the end of the life of the project, if it is deemed appropriate for residential, I could see that going towards that use at that time. Talked about site plan. I did go out to the site. The zoning sign was posted. The sight lines seemed relatively flat in both directions there. I didn't see any issues with that. I do believe that all of the county and state requirements and standards have been met.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Kim?
Did we hear from the city of Woodstock?
No, I've not heard from them.
Anybody else? No, okay. Okay, now it's time for the audience to give their opinions on this. We'll use the same format. You have to come forward and state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to state your case. And again, if somebody has already stated what you stated, then, don't repeat it. We'll just move on from there. Would anybody like to approach? Yes, sir.
I'm Dennis Brightwell. I live at 310 North Rose Farm Road. I saw my property on there when you had the sections up. It looked like it was vacant according to your data, but I live there, so it's not. But I might have read it bad because I'm coming back in here somewhere. Yeah, this piece right here. So I've walked this property probably more than anybody else out here today, and I can tell you that, and this, I hope this doesn't kind of get, I'm gonna answer some questions about the trees. So don't count this in my 3 minutes.
Oh, it is. It's counted in your 3 minutes.
There was, at one time, this was all wooded a couple hundred years ago, and it's all been cleared at one time. It was all farmland. And we can tell that because we have fences, fragments running all over the place out there. So it was fenced off. So the trees that are out there now are probably about, the oldest ones are maybe around 100 years old. And they consist of a variety of oaks, red oak, white oak, bur oak, swamp oak that I know, and pin oak, maybe, not sure about that. And buckthorn and honeysuckle and cherry trees, black cherry. So that's kind of a mess right now.
Are you talking about the trees that go along the middle
All
of
of
the site?
All this in here is all kind of, there's wooded areas.
Okay, but along the middle line is what we're.
I'm gonna get to that. When the
Hurry up.
when the post office, when the pipeline company came through, they cleared all the trees along here. There was about a 10-foot wide strip of trees on their property, oaks, primarily large oaks. Hundreds of trees were cut down and have been hauled away, because I've seen the whole thing. We used to not be able to get through here because it was oak, honeysuckle, and buckthorn. So it was hard to get in there. They cleared that all out. And there was also an access up in here someplace, and they also cleared quite a few trees up there.
You should probably get to your opinion now.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I could have brought pictures if I had known I would.
I mean, on this petition,
On the what?
on the whole petition. What's your?
Public
Oh,
Yes, your public.
okay, I'm gonna say about that. Now, but that was, in case anybody wanted to know what was out there, because there seemed to be a lot of interest in the trees, and I think we're all interested in persuading that. We are very excited about this. We have our own pollinator plot under an NRCS grant at the back 2 acres. So having another 30 or 40 acres of pollinators right behind us to share seeds is very exciting. We like the idea of getting a break on our electric bill. We think the whole idea of clean energy for McHenry County is something that we ought to be pursuing more. This is a very exciting, large.
That's your 3 minutes.
It's not mine. Okay, that was their timer project, and we are 100% for it. That's my comment.
Thank you
And you
so
can
much.
have the tree information for free. Oh, and it is a natural gas pipeline.
It is
I have an
natural.
good authority from the A&R guy who was on my, out to see me earlier this week, just a couple days ago. Said it's gas.
Would anybody else like to make a comment? Okay, come forward, please.
Gary Bartnick, 104 North Shannon Drive. The property here between the red and the green line. I'm deaf in one ear, can't hear out of the other, so I didn't get all of your response. I couldn't see what you were saying. But food for thought, I am against the solar there. I am against changing the zoning from agriculture to industrial. Just my personal opinion. I did a lot of research on the solar, and we talked about decommissioning. There's a lot of communities, when they decommission, the burden gets put back onto the taxpayer. I didn't like that. 10% savings on the electric bill. When I look at my electric bill and I use a few dollars electricity, and there's all these other handling fees and taxes and things, they're probably only gonna take 10% off of that right there. It's gonna amount to $2 or $3 or $4 or $10 in a month. To me, that doesn't make any sense. There are so many health reasons. Property values going down. The first hailstorm that comes by. The cleaning of the animal stuff, because then the panels are inefficient. There's just so many things. I'm really, really against it. This is Woodstock, it's the country there. I have deer and turkey in my backyard, and hawks flying over, and they're all gonna be affected by that. So anyway, that's sufficient for now.
Thank
That's
you.
my thoughts. Thank you for hearing this out.
Would anybody else like to speak? No? Okay, once, twice? That's it, okay. Did you want to take a break?
No.
Do you have a closing statement?
I don't think we have any, Colin Walker, I don't think we have anything else to add that we haven't already said.
Okay, so So as I mentioned before, there are only 6 of us today. Now we're talking about a tree study. You have the option to continue this to another date if you would like to do that.
And you would get an extra member.
You would have, 7 board members instead of the 6 of us. But this tree study, does the board want to wait for that tree study?
I think this is Jessica Beverly. I request recognition from the chair.
Yes.
Okay. Consistent with pattern and practice that we have established, I would like to continue this hearing to a date certain pending a tree study and a site plan that minimizes impacts to quality woodlands.
Okay.
Can I get a second and we can open up for
Second.
discussion? Thank you.
Yes.
I understand that we can have a tree study as part of the building ordinance. The public comment testimony regarding what kind of trees are there, I just feel like we've established a pattern and practice when there's significant acreage of clearing and we have to approve a site plan that we should know what trees are being cleared and how it's being minimized.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Kurt seconded.
I have to wholeheartedly agree with Ms. Beverly on that issue. We don't want to start setting different precedents than what we've already started with. And I found the gentleman's neighbor's commentary to be
Enlightening.
very enlightening and almost worse than I had feared would be possible based upon his conversation regarding the number of oaks and potentially being 100 years old. We can't take chances with that, in my opinion, and that's all I'll say for now.
Okay. Bill?
I thought that to expedite things, perhaps we could just impose a condition that they would not be removing any trees other than noxious or scrub trees.
And I think all of that is open to interpretation on what a scrub tree or a noxious tree is. Buckthorns used to be part of what the Conservation District would plant, and those we're trying to get rid of. Honeysuckles go all over everything. Like I had the box elder trees. Those are noxious trees. They last 40, 50 years too, and they provide excuse me, a windbreak between areas that are planted. I am concerned that with the restrictions we already have with the state on what we can do and what we can't do, I don't know what, it's nice to know what they're going to do or try to do, and I'm glad that they would be good neighbors and want to do something that we would want to do, but I don't know what restrictions we can impose on that. I don't know.
I wish I
And so-
could answer you. I
Yeah,
can't.
no,
Still
and
can't,
nobody
right?
can, because I don't know what it is. We've asked the last group of the 2 people, same company, to do that because of the, of large issues. I don't know how deep those issues are. I would appreciate it, and it would make some sense if you can get a tree study done by our date certain, that you go ahead and say, okay, we really want 7 people. Because then you have time to get your study done in time, and we don't have to set some other kind of fanciful date that you're going to tell us what you want to do, but I don't know where we can actually go with this, as calling it whatever it is.
Can I
Jess, that you
respond,
said.
Mary?
Yeah, you can.
So under 165630E2, we're required to approve a site plan that minimizes impacts
Okay,
to woodlands and wetlands.
Yes.
And the petitioner would then be required to show that they have a tree study and they are minimizing impacts in some way, shape, or form.
and so what we're doing now is setting our precedent would be saying that we need to have that, because it says that in what you just cited, that we want it now instead of later on in the process. Just checking.
Our UDO and Public Act 102, yada, yada, requires minimization of impacts to woodlands and wetlands.
In
And
short, Mary, yes.
yes,
Yes, so again, perhaps you can get a tree study done within another?
We
Wait,
haven't voted, we'll set the
I
date
know,
certain when we
I'm just
vote for the
asking,
motion.
I'm asking
Okay,
if they are
plan is-
conducive. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I don't know where
I
we
know.
go with this.
I know, okay, Bob, did you have a comment?
Yes, a real quick one. In some ways, I see my duty is to publicly vet the documents that are presented to us with a certain degree of specificity that they fulfill the requirements of the ordinances that we worked through. The characterization of such words as fingerling, and mine would be a fence line or typical, is insufficient to fulfill the requirements of the specificity, including colorizations and cloud documentation and symbology. So I would not be prepared to accept this as a qualifying piece of exhibit fulfilling the requirements, much less being able to tell others what is the consequence of this project going forward.
Madam Chairman, prior to a vote, could we please take a 10-minute break so the petitioner can come up with a date certain that we can put into the record and have a formal vote on the motion? Or 5-minute break?
Yes.
Because the motion itself should have a date certain, and I'd hate to set one that would be inconsistent with their schedule.
In other words, to present us with a date by which they could come up with
Please be
a
quiet.
tree study.
Gentlemen,
Just, we need quiet here because we're recording. Sorry. You can talk in a minute, we're going on a break. Okay, I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
I said, in other words, to come up with a time limit, give us an estimate of when they could come up with a tree study.
Right.
Correct.
How long do you think it would take, bottom line? You want a couple minutes to huddle?
We're gonna break, so you can figure that out. And then we'll continue when we come back.
anybody?
Need the calendar.
I have a tree question.
Ask her, she's
You're the guy that wanted to have the question.
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. The date that we've come up with mutually is October 29th.
I won't be here.
Right, you won't be here. And I want to let you know that again, we're going to be
You'll be
short.
with 6 people.
We'll have 6 people. We'll have 2 people that will have read the transcript and can then vote. But it's still not going to be 7. So if you're really set on 7 people at that date,
Yeah,
then.
it will be 7
It'll
if
be
both of
7.
them read.
Oh, both of them come.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Because our board is a bit short as well, so.
So, Madam Chairwoman, I move to continue this to October 29th, 2025 at 1:30 PM in this room
I'll second that, just to make it easier on your note
to
taking.
revise the motion to reflect that date.
Okay, there's a first and a second on that. And any discussion? Okay. Let's see, Mr. Cozen.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Ms. Beverly.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Kernick.
Yes?
And I'll vote yes as well. So we will see you people on October 29th, which is a Wednesday, at 1:30 in this room or this floor somewhere, with a tree study.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, quickly for the board, and this does not need to be part of the recording.